when you look at just some of the pieces, obviously this special teams unit was pretty good across the board last year, and I know a lot of those guys are free agents, but just what you seem to be inheriting, obviously a Pro Bowl punter, one of the better kickers over the last decade or so, and some really good cover pieces of return man. Just curious your thoughts on what you got in that unit.
Yeah, no doubt about it. These guys played at a really high level a year ago. They have a bunch of really good players. I'd say personally for me, the thing I'm most excited about, honestly, is getting here and having a chance to work for Dan Campbell. I mean, he's an unbelievable guy. He's put together an amazing staff, Anthony Lynn and AG, and all these guys, and then just a bunch of great assistants. Today we were downstairs just talking and getting to know everybody, and it was incredible listening to everybody's stories and all that. So I'm thrilled to death to be here. Obviously, there's a lot of talent on this roster, especially on special teams. Those guys played at a high level a year ago. And I'm excited to work with all these guys. I'm really fortunate to have this opportunity and feel blessed to be here and obviously to work for this organization.
Dave?
Sorry about that. Welcome to town. Can you just expand on that? Did you know Dan well before coming here then? What was the relationship? I know you were together 1 year, I think, right?
Yeah, we were together 2 years in Miami. I'm not an ex-player, by the way. Just saying.
One of the few, I know.
Believe it or not. God, I wish I did. No, but yeah, I worked with Dan Campbell for 2 years, and it was a great 2 years there in Miami. We weren't necessarily a great football team, but there was a bunch of really good coaches on that staff, and Dan always stood out to me. I think as a coach, you're always watching other coaches and watching them teach and watch them go about their craft, and you're trying to steal everything you can from all the good ones, and you kind of evaluate what you do, what they do, and he was a guy that I definitely always did that with and said, man, this guy's unbelievable. And then obviously I followed his career. We played against New Orleans a few times when I was in Philly, and I got to see him a couple times a year that way, and just have a lot of respect for him, the way he went about his business. Obviously ex-player, but he could really relate to the players really well and had a great way of communicating, and players always kind of rallied around him. So obviously for me, just really thrilled to death to be here with him.
So can you explain the story? It sounded like the Eagles weren't going to initially let you out of your contract. What was that like? How did that come about that they finally let you, that you were able to interview here, I guess?
I would say I'm not going to go into all that stuff with the Eagles, but I will tell you this. I had an amazing 8-year run. It's obviously hard to be anywhere for 8 years, probably much less that place. It's a challenging place, which is part of the fun for it as a coach. But we had an amazing 8-year run. It was a great place. I have a ton of respect for those people there. The building's unbelievable. The owner obviously starts with him. I worked for 2 great head coaches there. Obviously, we won a lot of football games, championships, a bunch of playoff games, and a Super Bowl ultimately. So we had a good run.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to ask you about was the kicking game, and specifically, I guess, the kicking position. You've been around a lot of kickers in your career, obviously, probably good and bad. What's the most important thing that the successful ones have, and how do you go about identifying that in a college kid, a college kicker?
Yeah, I think probably the most important thing really is upstairs. The ability to forget a kick and let those things go. It's obviously a high pressure position on a football team. These guys win and lose football games. It comes down to them. But I would say consistency and just a really strong mindset is probably the 2 most important things.
How do you get into somebody's mind, a kicker, like a prospect's mind?
Well, I
to
think you got to
out?
look at kind of their whole body of work, and see, how they've done in situations like that in the past, and you can kind of predict what you're going to get in the future. But I think more than anything, you just got to talk to a lot of people who've been around him, especially in these times with the COVID. You can't get out and do as much traveling and all that and getting to know people around them. But I think it's really important to have a bunch of connections in like the college coaching world and coaches you can talk to and try to get to know these guys as well as you can. I think it's probably the most important thing.
Great. Thank you.
Justin?
Coach, I think any of us that have been around this game long enough know that different head coaches place a different emphasis on special teams in terms of personnel commitment or practice time commitment. I'm just curious, in your early conversations with Dan, what sense have you given in terms of his commitment to your side of the ball?
Yeah, I think the most important thing for me, honestly, and I think it's the most important thing with Dan, really, to be honest with you, And I know my job really correlates to special teams, but honestly, the most important thing for me is that we're a good football team. We're trying to win football games. In order to do that in this league, you got to do it as a team. You got to be good in 3 phases. The idea that you could just be good in really one area and win a lot of football games and be a good football team, I don't think is true. So for me, for us, I know for Dan, and certainly myself, the most important thing is that we're well balanced in all areas. In order to do that, everybody's got to make sacrifices, and I really believe that Dan feels the same way about that.
Thank you.
Dave again.
No one wants to talk special teams but me, so I got one more for you. Don Muehlbach, have you talked to him yet? Do you have any sense if he wants to play another year? And I don't know, what just your impressions from him from afar after the long career he's had.
No, obviously, you got Muehlbach here and Prater. I mean, these guys are 2 pros that are just incredible. I mean, their careers really are amazing. Their stories, everything about these guys. I've reached out to them and talked to them. I think I did that on my first day here. Really, I have a lot of respect for them. I mean, these guys are great players who've done amazing things in this league. I've competed against them and really have a high opinion of both those guys. But I think they're really special people. Obviously, I know their contract situations, or that's some degree of question there or whatever. That's really not my position, so I'm not going to give you any answers today. I apologize. I know you knew that though. Yeah, I do. I think really highly of both those guys, and we'll see what happens here.
Well, without regard to them coming back, did they, or whether they will or not, did they indicate that they want to keep playing at least or want to be here at least?
Yeah, I would say that my conversation with them, I'm going to keep between me and them, and then I would let those guys share that with you.
All right, fair enough. Thank you.
Chris.
Hey, Dave. Chris Burke here. I'll sneak in for one. You mentioned Dan Campbell being able to, relate to players really responding to him. I was wondering if Deuce Staley has any of that ability too. Obviously, that's a guy you were around quite a bit. Just what type of personality he'll be adding to that staff and to the locker room?
Yeah, I'm super fired up. Deuce was coming here. I didn't really know that, and I got on the phone with him. It was before any of this stuff went public. And I kind of knew where I was at. Wasn't sure where he was at. And then he's like, hey, man, I'm going. And I was like, wait, what? And, yeah, I wouldn't rather be going with any other guy from that building in Philadelphia than Deuce. I mean, he's just an incredible person, a great leader. He's a really great motivator. He's great with the players. He can be really firm and really hard, but he really has all their best interests at heart. So I would speak the world of him. He's a great person, great coach, and I'm really happy to be working with him for another long stretch. Hopefully, it was 8 years there in Philly.
So you guys were talking to the Lions at the same time, but didn't know that the other was headed here?
Yeah, I didn't totally know he was coming. Our season was over. I was doing my thing. He was doing his thing or whatever, obviously. And then, we both got on the phone. We're just reaching out, talking to each other, and like, what you got going? Where and then we both figured out we were both pretty much headed here.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else, guys? All right. Thank you, Coach.
Yep. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Coach.
Dave.